Thank you. I'm gonna get a drink of water. I'm happy to be here again. As Sonja said, I really have a passion of sharing ABLE accounts with families and caregivers and even providers, because when I heard about the ABLE account, it changed my life. And also just my experience as a parent. My son is, he just turned 24 a couple of days ago. And my nephew's here with me. And so just traveling that life, you gain experience. And one of the best things about this road that we're traveling is parents supporting parents and helping parents along the way. About 2016, I went to a workshop, and I heard someone talking about ABLE accounts. And I was like, what is this? I've never heard about this. What is happening? If you know, and I'm just going to give this as an opening, but you'll probably see some of this in the slide. People that are on Social Security and that have other means-tested benefits can't have above a certain amount of income or assets. And we've seen that cycle over and over again where they're just stuck in this place because they can't do anything basically to advance. And so that's where the ABLE account became a lifesaver. We would love to see changes in the income limit requirements, et cetera, but until that happens, this is what's giving people a lifeline to dream beyond just being stuck in that little box of not being able to save and not being able to plan for expenses and just enjoy a better life experience. So when I heard about this ABLE account, I went searching. We all know that famous engine search that we do, the one that has all the information for us on the internet. And I landed on a page, a website called the ABLE National Resource Center. And it just had everything that I needed to know. I call it like a one-stop shop for all things ABLE. And so I looked and I searched for information, and one of the things that I loved that they had was the comparison tool where you could compare different states and just get an idea of what each state plan offered. The mission of the ABLE National Resource Center is to educate, promote, and support the positive impact of ABLE and make the lives of millions of Americans with disabilities and their families. I'm not an employee of the ABLE National Resource Center. I'm a parent ambassador. I was selected in 2018, and they've had various ambassadors throughout the years, but I've hung on because I value what I'm doing. And so we're just telling our personal stories and sharing the facts and information about the ABLE account, which helps people to relate to what we do with our children. There are different ABLE ambassadors, quite a few parents, some of adults, young adults, young children, and individuals themselves who live with a disability, and so they share their experience of what the ABLE account means for them. So if you're sharing this information with someone, they can actually find information there that will relate directly to them or give them a better idea of how it works. This is just a presentation on the basics of an ABLE account. I welcome questions in the middle of whatever I'm doing. You can stop me and ask me a question. You can write your question down and ask me later, because as you know, most of the time, the question will be answered throughout the presentation. But if for any reason you want to ask me a question, I'll take the question and then I'll let you know if it's something we can wait to answer. Throughout the presentation, you're going to see a lot of resources at the bottom of each slide, different things that they have on the ABLE account, ABLE National Resource Center website, and just the link to the website, ablenrc.org. It's just a great website. I can't say anything else. And really coming from not being involved with them and just searching for the information. So very objectively, when I first landed there, I thought the website was great, and now they've improved it. So there's so much more information. The Achieving a Better Life Experience Act was signed in 2014. It allowed different states to form ABLE plans. And of course, it gave account owners who receive means-tested, needs-tested benefits the ability to save and invest. It's not just saving, investment. So that, and the monies that they save or invest will not affect their eligibility based on the $2,000 resource limit and even other limits for like HUD housing and all those other kind of means-tested benefits. When you have money in an ABLE account, it doesn't affect that. It doesn't affect a student applying for FAFSA and those kinds of things. ABLE savings can be spent on what is called qualified disability expenses, but it's basically anything that helps the person to stay healthy, independent, and experience a good life. And anyone can deposit money into the account. I'll get into that more later, but yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Up to $100,000 in savings is not regarded as a resource or as income, and it will not affect your SSI income. Anything above that $100,000, so $100,001, it will have an impact. But what I like to talk about is before an ABLE account, if you could only have $2,000, $100,000. I know that, and even for the annual limit, well, this is talking about the overall limit, maximum in the account. Yeah, that's a big difference. And even since I've started my son's account and just looking forward in life, I don't know if his account is ever going to get to 100,000. But just the possibility to dream that big changes everything. As I was saying before, it won't affect, an ABLE account won't affect your eligibility for various means-tested programs or benefits that you receive, and they're all here. The FAFSA, which I mentioned, the student aid, housing assistance from HUD, the SNAP program, SSI or SSDI, and the various some Medicare Parts A, B, C, or D, or Medicaid benefits, including Medicaid waiver services and Medicare savings program. There are, like I said, this is one of the examples of ABLE decision guide, understanding ABLE accounts and savings and public benefits. That's something that's on the ABLE National Resource Center website. So it's something somebody can go to and just look through it and just get more grounded information. Now, why would we save in an ABLE account? Of course, I've said it before. You can now have money that won't impact your resource limit or your income limit. The ABLE account funds are tax-free. Whatever gains you make on your investment portion is not taxed. If you withdraw the money for a qualified disability expense, that's not taxed. One of the things I kind of compare it to just personally for me is we've all heard about the 529 college saving plan. The ABLE account is actually called the 529A in the IRS rules. It's the 529A. So it's kind of built similarly, but whereas the college saving plan works for, and this is just an explanation how I rationalize it in my mind, while that works for educational expenses, the ABLE plan can be used for more than a limit. It's not medical only, it's education, it's medical, it's transportation, it's other things that help you to have a better life experience. So it has a broader reach. We, I mean, I'm sure because you guys are staff at DECI, you probably know this, so I don't have to say it. But even as a parent with two young adults in my household with a disability, it's still something that just, you know, I'm still walking into, where expenses are more when you have a household member with a disability. I can say for now, we are at the point where maybe it's not like that impactful because our children don't need a lot of medical services and other kinds of services, but then it still has an impact, you know, in terms of probably additional childcare support that you might need or other things that you might need. So 28% more income a year if you have a household with a person with a disability.
And just so you'll know, most of the staff in here are pretty new. And so
Oh, okay.
They may not know some of the things that maybe some of the veteran staff knows when it comes to this information here.
Okay. So, qualifying for an ABLE account. Who is eligible for an ABLE account? It's any person with a disability that occurred prior to the age of 26. Something to note, as of January 1st, 2026, that age is going to change to any person with a disability prior to the age of 46. Yes, a lot of campaigning was done in the ABLE account community and just the disability community at large. And, you know, if you think about it, in my mind, 26 and before are mainly people that were born with disability related issues or, you know, like early childhood injuries, possibly, you know, maybe a hit and run or something like that. But if you think about people between the age of 26 and 46, those are working adults. So there's so much, there are more, I don't want to say opportunities, but there are more chances of them having injuries. So someone with a traumatic brain injury would qualify. Any of your developmental disabilities would qualify. Your physical disabilities. The definition of disability that the ABLE account uses is the same definition that is used by the Social Security Administration. So also, so in terms of qualifying, if you receive supplemental security income or Social Security insurance, SSI or SSDI, and you have a letter certifying that you qualify, that letter automatically qualifies you for an ABLE account. If not, you can get a disability certification signed by your doctor, and that would be your certification that you qualify. There is within the ABLE description specific notations as to what medical person can sign the certification. So, for example, a therapist can't sign it. Certain other types, but it has to be a medical doctor, and I'm not going to go down the list because I don't want to say the wrong name. But it's in the description of what medical professionals can sign the disability certification.
So can I ask a question? So people who are seniors that might get Social Security disability or anything don't qualify because of their age? Or it depends on when they became, if they were disabled before they got to be a senior,
Yes.
then they still qualify?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's one thing I have to explain a lot when I'm out doing resource fairs and things like that. You know, we have all these words within different genres of different sections of life, and so disability is not just disability because of age disability or that kind of thing. It's disability. Disability as defined by the Social Security Administration. That's a disability that they use, and the caveat here is before the age of 46 as of January 2026, currently before the age of 26. Now, if that person is 70 years old right now, and they had that disability, they meet that age qualification, they could open an ABLE account. That's their choice. You know, so any age you can open the ABLE account as long as you meet that definition of the age of disability. this bullet down here, a person who works and no longer receives SSR, SSDI, but still has a disability, continues to be eligible if that disability began before the age of 26. So that clarifies that point. And as I said before, in January, it will be before the age of 46. Oh, I just talked about it. So yes, this is just describing that the ABLE Act, Able Age Adjustment Act will go into effect on January 1st, 2026, changing that requirement. I was touching the mic. One of the things that I liked about the Able National Resource Center is that, so you're hearing this now, but if you have family in other states, you can call them up and say, go to this website. There's information for you. And the good thing about it is the green shaded states represent states that have a current ABLE plan. You can click on any one here and it will take you to the state plan, the state information, etc. This, I say, is the best way to go because you don't want to type a state in or type something in and get to go to somewhere that you won't want to be or linked to something that's not legitimate. And I mentioned the comparison tool. You can click on more than one state and see what they offer in terms of their, you know, as it has gone along, I think states have kind of modified their plans or just make changes to better suit residents, but you will see like if there's a minimum deposit to open an account, if there is what the fees are for maintaining the account. So you will see different things about each state that will help you decide, do I want to use this state or that state? Important thing to remember, some states provide tax benefits to their state residents. So if you're opening from another state, you're not going to get those benefits. And some states do not accept out-of-state residents. So that's just something to remember. Most accounts are opened online. You can request documentation from the plan, and they will send you like a paper form or send you options of how to open if you don't have online access. You can't go into a bank and open an ABLE account. You can't go into a financial institution and open an ABLE account. That's just how it's set up. But you can reach out to the plan and they can give you, you know, information and options on how to get things set up. You can only have one account per person. And I'll get into more of this later on, but managing your ABLE account, here are some decision guides, links to decision guides on the ABLE National Resource Center website, how to select and open an account and manage your ABLE account. So the account owner can designate people to assist with the account. So the person would be like an authorized agent, and then they can have an interested party. And those two types of persons assisting have different levels of access to the account. Contributions into an ABLE account. This is another thing that I love. In 2025, the contribution maximum for the year is $19,000. I'm going to say it again. 2,000, 19,000. What I said, a lifesaver. Anyone can deposit money into the account, your friends, your family, your employer. You can do a 529 college saving plan rollover. That was set to expire and that has not, they have withdrawn that. So it stays, you can roll over. And a couple of things that I think about when I think about that. One, I remember when I first got my son diagnosed and I started to realize that this is where I'm going to have to be traveling. One of the things that I heard the most was he can't have money in his name. You can't have a bank account for him. You can't do this. You can't do that. He can't have anything in his name. And that destroyed me as a parent because I had an older son and I had a savings account for him, and I had a savings account for him, and I just felt like I wasn't being fair to both my children in not being able to have an account for that son. You also, I remember I did a presentation and a mom came to me and said, this is such good information, because my daughter's godmother always wants to give her something, always wants to, and she couldn't. You don't have to get a check they don't have to write a check to you and then you have to put it aside to use for your child or, your mom, whoever it is that qualifies for that account. I mean, we've all heard the horror stories of money disappearing because somebody else is managing the money and the individual doesn't get their money. With, and even like I think of grandparents who a baby's born and like, okay, I'm going to set up something for my grandchild. And then you find out, no, you can't, because they can't have money in their name. So this is an option for people who may find themselves at that point earlier on, or even as the child get older, they can make decisions on how to do this. So you don't have to shy away of getting gifts and support for the individual. An able account owner who works but does not use their employer's retirement plan is allowed to save more than the annual limit. So they're able to submit to deposit up to an additional $15,000 or equal to their employment earnings, whichever is less, in their able account. In Hawaii, it's $17,310, and in Alaska, it's $18,810. So a working adult who has a disability and has an able account can, and does not use their employer's retirement plan, can add more money than the $19,000. I won't say it again because you know exactly what I'm thinking to say, but I won't say it again. Yeah, but that's such a big change for people. I think about just people trying to plan and figure out how to do things, and now this just changes everything for them in terms of planning. When I first started doing presentations on this, I used to say that, just think about someone who, like when we have a dental, oh yeah, I've done one of those big dental work where you had to finance it through my FSA or something like that. But it's coming. So like at the beginning of this year when we're going to do our enrollments and stuff like that, whether or not you're going to do the full FSA or the full HSA or whatever, and you can plan for it. Or even if I know, okay, yeah, I need to go get a new car, folks, just this week. So now I know, I was like, okay, I got to save this out of my paycheck so that I can build that up so that in 2 weeks I can put a down payment on something that I find, something like that. Our folks that have to stick to that $2,000 resource limit can't do that because they can't keep money in their account on an ongoing basis, because then it's going to affect their next monthly payment. And yes, that's unfair. Yes, that's just something we need to change overall. But the ABLE account gives us that opportunity to do that now. So they can save money and then they can plan to make a purchase that's necessary for their better life achievement.
And just so that, the folks here would understand that a lot of our folks have had to do things called spend down. You're probably going to say that, right, in your thing. If they had monies and they had to buy just crazy stuff, just to have that money under that 2,000 or that 2,000 or less. So this is really a game changer for them when they can now keep that money in their account. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Opening an ABLE account, when is a good time to open an ABLE account? Anytime. Remember I just said before, if the person is 70 years old and they qualify based on that disability prior to the age of 26 or next year prior to the age of 46, and they feel like they want to open an account, they can. They can. If you have a child that's a newborn and you from birth, you realize that things are going to be a certain way, you can open the account. If you have a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 18-year-old, at whatever age, 21, you can open an account as long as that age and disability definition fits. And any kind of disability, like I said before, developmental, mental health qualifies because it falls under the SSA definition of disability. Physical. The kind of, I used to be able to recite the exact definition, but one of the things to consider is that it says severe and marked limitations. That's a part of that definition. So you can read up more on that. You do not need to know all things about ABLE to get started. I'm an English major. I love English. I do not like math. Unfortunately, in the job that I work now, I'm doing quite a lot of math that I never expected to do, but Excel is my friend. There are times when I'm at work and I'm trying to figure something out and I call my husband. He's a mathematician. And I'm like, why can't I figure this out? So I'm saying this because math and finance and all that kind of stuff is not my cup of tea. I do what I have to do because as a parent, you have to figure things out. You have to deal with your insurance, all of that kind of stuff. But if I don't have to do it, I don't necessarily want to do it. Opening an ABLE account, you don't need a financial mind. You don't need that kind of in-depth knowledge in order to be able to open it and to manage it. Yes, you might want to talk to someone because of the investment options, but it's not something that's like, you don't have to be an expert in order to open an ABLE account. And I will say this, the language in the ABLE plan, disclosure plan, it's not legalese. It's plain language, easy to understand, and that was intentional because they wanted to empower individuals who are managing their own money. Individuals who may have capacity issues to be able to read the document, to understand the document, and to be able to decide if this is what they want to do or to get help in managing what they need to manage. So it's really not a lot of, what I would call legalese. It's easy to understand. State plans have a minimal initial contribution to open an account from 0 to 50. A majority of plans are $25. The NC ABLE plan is $25. And you can open a plan anytime. I just said if you are unsure. So it's called a savings and investment account, and you have a checking option. I would say most states have a checking option, and then you have the investment option. And the investment option is more or less similar to what you would have in a 401k plan or any of those kind of investment plans. You're moderate, you're high risk, you're safe, you have those options. The checking account is also considered an investment option, and I say that because I remember when I went into the plan and I was looking for the checking account, I thought the checking account would be here and the investment options would be here, and I'm like, why can't I find the checking option? You go into investment options and you click checking, and that's the option that you're choosing. You don't have to invest. So if it's an individual that's not comfortable with investing, or if you're advising someone and you don't want that option, you don't have to invest in the investment option. Traditional investment option, you can just use the checking option and the money goes into the checking account and it stays there. With the checking account, you have a debit card. And so you can use a debit card as you would use any other debit card. Of course, if you have, and a lot of things are tied into the whole ABLE account thing. Like I said, if the individual wants someone to help them, they're, with their different, I don't want to use the word checks and balances, but they're different techniques or tips that you can use to help that person feel independent and manage their account and be the guide for them while they're managing that account. The only thing about the debit card is you have to guard against an expense that is not considered a qualified disability expense. So those are just some things that if the individual has the card, then you kind of have to have that conversation and work with understanding how. And that's just also too, if you think about it, creating autonomy and creating independence and creating self-worth, that's financial literacy. That's financial guidance. So it's not policing if you're giving them the opportunity to use a debit card or to spend. So it's not just about that. It's just about an overall understanding of finance and giving them that growth and independence to be able to feel like someone that's having a better life experience.
Can a person go back and check investing if they choose to later on?
Yes, yes. And even if you choose the investment option, you can make changes. I think twice a year. You can do checking and investment, and this is how it's set up. And this I'm speaking from the North Carolina plan. That's the plan my kids have. I think most plans are probably the same, but you can say each deposit that goes in, I want 50% to checking, 50% to investment. So that 50% will be invested whichever way your investment is outlined. You can also change it, I think, twice throughout the year. So then you can change it to 70-30, whatever percentage that you want it to be. And then that's what happens with each investment that comes in after you make that change. Excuse me. Yes, sir.
In regards to the qualifying expenses, is there documentation required?
Not when you make the purchase. IRS, it's an IRS, what do you call it now? Tool. It's an IRS, so they can make audits. They can do audits. I have not heard of anybody having an audit yet. And if you think about it, the plan is what, about 11 years old now, because it was signed in 2014. So it's been around for 10 years. And if you think, like a 10-year-old child, that's still pretty young. So there are growing pains, there are changes that will happen. But I haven't really heard of anyone that has had an audit. They may have been, it's just not been in my circle. So you would need to keep your receipts in the event that you are called for an audit. I believe the plan will, I just read something about this recently. If the expense is not an qualified disability expenses, then the taxes will be implemented. Pretty much like if you withdraw from your retirement account and it's not a qualified, so you have to pay the taxes on it. Kind of like that. Yeah, penalties, yes. Qualified disability expenses. So I said before, it's about almost covers anything. Education, regular, like when my son was going to the community college, he had a little bit of an issue, and so his financial aid was withdrawn because of his grades. So we decided that he was going to go back another semester. So I was like, well, he has an ABLE account. So we used his ABLE account to pay his tuition. And that worked out well. If they are doing any other kind of educational program or something that's not covered, if they have Medicaid or anything like that, it's not covered, your ABLE account can pay for it. So for instance, they're going to do driving lessons, and they might need extended driving lessons or specific driving lessons from a specific driving school because of the need to kind of teach them differently. It may be that can be covered because it's some part of their education, something to make them have a better life experience. It can be used to supplement housing costs if one of the guidance around the ABLE account is to use your SSI, your SSDI for basic expenses, and then you can supplement with your ABLE account. So, something like maybe, folks who live in a, what do you want to call it? where they have someone coming in to assist them, but it's kind of like independent living, but they have someone that comes in to assist them. They can support that payment because from their ABLE account. Transportation, I've known of people who, some of our ABLE ambassadors who have got specialized vehicles modified to meet the needs of the individual. Key to that also is the equipment or like the car doesn't only have to serve the individual. So the car doesn't have to stay parked unless the individual is in it. If it's a family vehicle, the family can use it, but it's there for the individual. Employment and training support, that's part of what I was talking about in terms of something that might not necessarily be traditional education. Healthcare expenses, all those other kinds of things. Funeral and burial expenses, that's key. So if the ABLE account owner passes, and I'm going to mention this a little later too, the ABLE account can be used to cover those expenses for that individual. There is no list of things in the ABLE plan that says this qualifies, that doesn't qualify. It's kind of broad-based, just like that if you read the guidelines. Just general things. I just said that about the car. It does not only have to benefit the individual with a disability. It can benefit, like I said, the parent can purchase a vehicle that the child and others will be transported in. They may use a child's ABLE account to purchase a home that the child would be raised in. It's best to consider ABLE account owners' best interest and protect their rights regarding the use of ABLE funds. So, the other thing about why, for me, and I think for many people, why an ABLE account is good is because I remember in the beginning people saying about, I kept thinking about, I have to do a trust fund for my child. And I was like, I don't have any money to pay an attorney to do a trust fund. And I don't know when I'm going to have money to put in a trust fund. So that was just something that was always on my mind. Now, that is not to say you can have a trust fund and you can have an ABLE account. What would happen in a lot of cases, because the trust could put money in the ABLE account and that money can be spent from the ABLE account. So you're not putting money in their traditional SSI or SSDI account, which would put them over their limit. And also, so for instance, like if you transfer money from the ABLE account into the regular checking account, that money has to be used within that month that it's transferred. And if you transferred it to pay rent, you have to use it to pay rent. You can't use it to pay something else because it would qualify as not, based on SSI rules, it would not. It would show as income.
When you're transferring, does it ask you?
No, it doesn't ask you. It's just when they do their, I guess, reconciliation and review and that sort of thing. Because if you keep money in your SSI account, like if I have, say, and that was, Sonja was talking about spending down. If you get X amount of dollars for the month and you pay all your expenses and you have $100 left in October and now we're in November and you don't spend that $100 and then you go into December with that $100, they're going to start looking at reducing your payment because you have $100 that is a resource. So instead of getting your X amount of dollars for the month, you could get less because you have that extra $100. Mm-hmm. And so those are things you have to consider too. Like if you transfer money from the ABLE account into the regular account, you have to make that expense within that month because then it would affect your SSI.
And if just thinking about, you said it could be used for burial expenses. Say the person passes and the funds left in the account or exceed the cost of burial, would that have to be transferred back into, if it could it be transferred back into another account, and then would those funds have to be spent, or would it have to be a trust, or would it follow the same probate rules? I guess that's my question. I'm sorry, I know that was a very low.
Oh, no. It's a perfect question. It's a perfect question. I am going to get there.
Okay.
So if you can hold off a minute, I'm not sure how fast it's coming up, but that's a very good question because it leads into some other things. So I mentioned this. Best practice, deposit your earned income into your checking account, pay for basic living expenses, and then you transfer extra funds to your ABLE account. And then vice versa. If you need to make a expense, you could use the ABLE account debit card if you have it, or you could transfer it to that account to make whatever expense you need to make. But that would not show as an income because it's your ABLE account funds. Well, I guess we didn't go there.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me. So, I mentioned before all the different ABLE ambassadors that we have, different types of disabilities, different experiences, and they share what their experience is with having an ABLE account. The gentleman on the far right, lower level, he passed away earlier this year, just based on his disability, but he was a part of our group and he had a very deep impact in his disability group. You know, you have Down syndrome, you have, you know, different groups, but he was very impactful in his group and he campaigned about the ABLE account as well. I think I misread my slide, so I'm going to answer your question. There is a thing called Medicaid payback or Medicaid clawback. You may have heard about it before, wherein Medicaid can claim reimbursement for payments made for you from the time you got Medicaid. It is not only for ABLE accounts, it is also for one of our trust funds, and I can't remember if it's the pool trust special needs. I don't remember, so I don't want to quote which one it is, but it also exists for one of the trusts that you could create. Our legislator, I want to say it was passed recently, and I should have looked back at my notes to be sure, but our ABLE plan, NC ABLE, and our Medicaid office worked on the fact that they're going to withdraw that from the ABLE plan. So you wouldn't have to pay back Medicaid. How it was structured was within 60 days of the person passing, Medicaid could petition the ABLE plan to pay back sums for Medicaid services received. But prior to that happening, all expenses would be paid out of the ABLE account. So this is answering your question. Whatever was to be paid that month, whatever needed to be covered, any expenses that were needed to be made out of the ABLE account would be made, and whatever balance was in the account would be there, whether Medicaid asked for it or not, but they had 60 days to ask for it. If there's money left in the account, it can be passed to a qualified ABLE account owner, but that ABLE account owner has to be your immediate family member. If not, it would go into your regular inheritance or transfer, and then that would be taxes because it's not a qualified disability expense.
And I'm assuming that the account is non-interest bearing, right?
Oh, no, it is.
Oh.
It is. So that's part of the thing why it's called a tax advantage account, because you don't pay taxes on the interest you gain, and you don't pay any taxes when you withdraw the money. Also, depositing money into the account. Remember that slide that said anyone can deposit money into the account? There is a thing called U-Gift. I thought it was on the bottom of one of the slides. Maybe it's coming up. There's a thing called U-Gift where it's linked to the account, and you get a code, like a alphanumeric code, and you give that to anyone. And they can go to go and deposit money into the account. They don't get the account number, they don't get anything. All they know is the person that owns the account and the UGIF number, and that money goes into the account. For young adults, and this was part of the youth transition toolkit as a suggestion for like when kids are graduating from high school or even from college. Like when my son was graduating, I told my family members, put the money in his account, put the money in his account, put the money. It took some time because everybody is used to writing a check or giving me money in his name or, you know, something like that. And even now it's taking them some time because they, you know, the great aunts and the grandmas and those folks, they want to do for the younger people. And so it takes education in reminding them that that's the best way to support him. Reality check for me and for them, and you know, I'm not going to be here forever. And so the best way you can support him now is putting that money in his ABLE account so that when I'm not here, he has what he needs to take care of himself. Something I said to my husband one day was, I'm giving him the experiences now so that he understands what a quality life is. So when we're not here and somebody's telling him he can't do this or he can't do that, he'll have money in his ABLE account and he'll understand, no, I can do this or I can do that. These are things that I can do because he has the experience of it and he has the money to be able to do it. So the UGIF option is great because you're not giving up any account information and they can't withdraw or anything. They're just putting money into the account and they can do it from anywhere.
It's a routing number, I guess.
Yeah, you go to the UGIF website and it just, and you can do it from texting or on the phone or whatever. I just sent the link to them and they did it and it went in. And then that money that goes in would be entered the same way. Remember I was saying before about if you designate the money to be split 50-50 or whatever percentage split you have for checking and investment, that whatever goes into the account is split that same way. As you know, once if you change that amount, anything going forward would be split that way. If you change, for instance, a couple months ago when we weren't sure about the market and things were happening, I went in and I changed my son's split so that anything that went in after that would go more to checking. Any other questions? Like I said before, I'm a parent. I love the Able National Resource website because I think it's filled with tons of information. The FAQs, the decision guides, the comparison tool for the state plans. They have all their webinars on there, previous webinars that they've had. And the Able Achievable newsletter is one thing that you should sign up for because it comes out quarterly now, I think. And so it just gives you upcoming news. It highlights different ambassadors or different things that are happening. And it's just a good way to keep in tune with things because it's coming to your email. So, you know, it might just trigger something. Whereas if you don't have it, then you'd have to go searching for stuff. The decision guides, there are different types of decision guide. It just walks you through what you're, you know, how to do this, how to manage an account, how to, finding funds to save in an ABLE account. You know, I know some people there on a fixed income. When I first opened my son's account, I did a thing where I said, okay, I'm going to do $25 from each paycheck that I have. And then, but I didn't deposit it at each time I got paid. I just said I'm saving $25 from each paycheck, and then after about a month or so, I'll put 2 months, I'll put that in. So I had a deadline of when I would put it in, but I just decided like, okay, I can manage $25 from each paycheck. It was a small amount, but it was just something to keep growing. And it was a relief for me because like I said before, I couldn't save for him. So now it was like, oh yeah, I'm saving for him. Service provider toolkit, that's a good toolkit because it helps families who are going to service providers and they're not aware of this or they don't quite understand it. So, it's something that as service providers you can use as well, because it has information in there to kind of guide you where you don't have to search the entire page. There's just stuff in that toolkit that will be handy for you to use. And the National Disability Institute, that's the agency that oversees the Able National Resource Center, and they also have lots of information on disability resources and independence and financial. They have a lot of financial information, and the American Dream Employment Network has a lot of tools and options that people can use as well. And that's just how I mentioned the Achievable newsletter. The Able National Resources, they're on LinkedIn and Facebook and all the other places. So you can connect with them, so you can keep getting more information. And of course, I keep talking about the website.